Not Bitcoin today. This is Bitcoin today. Not Bitcoin. Not Bitcoin today. This is Bitcoin. Bitcoin now. Turn up those. Let's get that education going. This is Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin now. Don't look now, but Bitcoin is on fire. This thing is, you can't kill it. You have to find something that you can trust in a trustless world, which is Bitcoin. You know, it is a asset class that protects you. Right. The U.S. federal government's on an unsustainable fiscal pattern. The U.S. federal government's on an unsustainable fiscal pattern. You do not sell your Bitcoin. Sell your Bitcoin. You do not sell your Bitcoin. Sell your Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin today. Bitcoin today. Not Bitcoin today. Not Bitcoin. Not Bitcoin today. Not Bitcoin. Not Bitcoin today. Oh, Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin today. Bitcoin today. Bitcoin today. Bitcoin today. Bitcoin today. No. Not
Doing it old school today, Terence.
I thought you said there was no music.
Bitcoin.
I said there was no soundboard.
You do not sell your Bitcoin. Sell your Bitcoin. You do not sell your Bitcoin. Sell your Bitcoin.
Did you sell some Bitcoin, Terence?
I sold some fiat.
Attaboy.
I saw that that fiat was running on one node, and I thought that sounded like a centralization risk. So I moved off of fiat.
I think it's actually just an Excel spreadsheet. They don't even use a node, so even better idea.
Did you know I see Tomer here?
Tomer, good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, kind of. I don't know if it's me. I'm on special assignment.
Where are you, and why are you?
Well, I don't want to get
What?
$5 wrenched, but I've just taken 4 or 5 days to just enjoy life. I'm looking at the ocean right now.
Well,
Sounds
if you've
nice.
only got $5, I don't think anyone's going to rent you.
Don't wrench me, bro. No, just enjoying life, man. It's good to just take a step back and enjoy nature and the ocean and mountains and cruise through the some of the biggest trees on planet Earth. That's a big hint for you right there. And it's just so awe-inspiring and wonderful to just mind erase and re-energize, man. Recharge your batteries. So that's what I'm doing.
Right on, dude.
Robert's here. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey guys.
So what have I been missing? I haven't really been keeping up on any news or anything, but is the world all going to shambles and we're in doo-doo, or does everything look good out there?
Mm,
It
yeah, I
feels it
mean,
feels bad for sure. Oh, sorry, Robert. Go
Does
ahead.
it?
yeah, it feels, I agree with Tomer. It feels pretty bad. Like I don't, despite what some people might say, I don't consider myself a doomer. But it's pretty bad. Like on both sides. I've seen a pretty extraordinary response, right? Like the degree to which some have just openly celebrate people I know openly celebrated the assassination of Kirk. Like on that side, the insanity that they're going to, and then also like what I'm seeing from could call it like the other people, right? Like those folks, it's pretty scary. Like the number of people that are quoting Julius Caesar and like talking about civil war and like give no quarter and posting like just openly Fed posting on their timeline, even not anonymous accounts, people, real people. I think, no pun intended, it was pretty major turning point for American society. And then, yeah, in markets, just grinding higher, maybe not Bitcoin as much, but grinding higher, gold sitting, new all-time highs basically every day. And yeah, so for Fed funds is starting to blow out. So maybe we get a 2019 repeat. Yesterday was tax deadline. But there's certainly a pretty severe shortage of dollar liquidity. You had 18 basis points above Fed funds. That's significant. That's it's not 900 basis points like the repo rate crisis, but it's certainly significant. So today you have equities pulling back and the dollar's just dumping. Like it looks pretty bad. If you look at DXY on like a quarterly chart or a monthly chart, it looks brutal. And it looks like it's going to break what was a 15-year support, going all the way back to 2008. It looks like it's going to go knife right through that support. And then, yeah, I guess then you're not looking at the low 90s, maybe even high 80s.
Hasn't that been part of the plan, though, Robert, to weaken the dollar?
Yeah, yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's not like unexpected and in my opinion, it's not bad. It's not a negative thing, right? Like that the dollar is becoming fairly valued. So yeah, it's not a bad thing. But from a market's perspective, you will have gold, and it should be good for Bitcoin too. Eventually, like I don't really like how much Bitcoin's been underperforming gold, but Bitcoin looks good too. It's just I think gold is I think what we're seeing is like that. What has always kind of been my thesis, which is gold is, and I 100% agreed with Luke when he came here. I think that gold is just like the most pure way of expressing for market participants, right? Not we all understand that Bitcoin's properties actually make it a better version of gold, but like the market hasn't woken up to that fact. It will, I think, eventually, but it hasn't so far. And so in the interim, until they come around to that realization, you're going to have gold probably with less risk, right? Like less downside risk, and probably a not insignificant amount of outperformance over Bitcoin. But it's a transient thing, it's a temporary thing. Maybe for the next 6 months, maybe for the next 9 months, maybe a year or two. I don't know. But I think that eventually the properties of Bitcoin will make it right there next to gold, and we'll start to see this weaker dollar, both in terms of dollar relative to other currencies as measured by DXY, but also weaker dollar with erosion of the Fed, if Fed independence, negative real rates, which are coming, regardless of Lisa Cook and the day-to-day things like with the Fed. Regardless of all that, if you zoom way out, Trump is going to have a majority on the Fed sooner or later, right? Like it's baked in the cake that we're getting, an absurd amount of rate cuts, negative real rates, probably more issuance in bills, all those things that I've been talking about. Whether or not Lisa Cook, some court upholds that firing, all that stuff is still coming. So purchasing power of the dollar deeply eroded. So dollar down not only relative to other currencies, but dollar down in purchasing power terms, right? Versus gold, versus Bitcoin, versus real scarce assets. So yeah, it's a very bullish setup for Bitcoin. But unfortunately, in the interim, over the next 12 months or so, Bitcoin does unfortunately have at least by market participants, the properties of a triple levered NASDAQ sort of asset. So we're kind of fighting an uphill battle with the people that still believe that.
I always think about gold and this rally as just being a very pure indication that the majority of the capital in the world is still controlled by the boomers. And we just need to graduate beyond that.
Yeah, it's a good point. And once the younger people start to get some of that capital, if there's any left after the Medicaid or after the old folks home spending, which we know is right, but after that, whatever is left, I think that the younger people rightfully view Bitcoin as kind of the digital gold or the I think that it might take a decade for that to play out, right? But around the margins for the next decade, I think that we see more and more of that.
Hey, Lauren, are you going to say hello to the other guests on the stage or just ignore them?
Aloha, guests on the stage. No, I think they're just popping up here. Go ahead, Terence. Take it away. Say good morning for me
Well,
on
let's say
my
hello to
behest.
Bitcoin and then Jeffrey and then Paul.
We're going to talk about Bitcoin today.
Yeah, but I see Bitcoin
Yes,
is up
sir.
here. Bitcoin has a face. I'm looking at him.
The
Satoshi.
revolution. How are you, Terence, Lauren, Robert? Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Tomer, everyone.
Morning.
Hey, Terence, I noticed Jeff Teeth, put a thumbs down.
That was a
And
mistake.
I think that was an accident. Yeah.
What's up,
Good morning.
guys? Good to be here, man. What a week. I mean, I just feel like we are moving quickly through this time capsule to a point where the current situation can flip really quickly, and it's just a sign of the times when institutions are losing control. It's like we're living in the fourth turning right now, and it's like all this angst and anxiety and uncertainty is just should push you further toward Bitcoin, or at least understanding it. And, for me, I've had a lot of people reach out to me this week being like, Jeff, I've been incredibly disturbed by the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I haven't, I mourn him. I mourn the loss for our country. I haven't been able to focus on, what I do. And people ask, well, we need to start a compound, or we need to do this, or we need to do that. I have a lot of concerned friends, and I think really at the end of the day, it just comes down to going where you're treated best. And being a Bitcoiner allows us to do this. And I've told my friends, like, guys, with Bitcoin, I can leave. I can go where I'm treated best. I don't have to put myself or my family in an environment where they're going to be assaulted for their beliefs. And I aligned with him, with Charlie Kirk. My personal beliefs do, and so to me, this is an attack against myself. And I tell my friends, like, look, you want to start a compound, that's fine, but what's happening here in America, like, whether or not we can fix it, I don't know. I really don't know. I hope so, and I'm going to fight for that. But I also know that, one of the things I want to tell people is if we can't survive this attack against us, we can just go wherever we want with Bitcoin to where we're treated best. We can remember 12 words in our head. We can walk, drive, run, fly, boat, wherever. And I hope that this is a turning point. And I'm going to go to a celebration of life event for Charlie Kirk tonight in my local area. And I know we have our regular Bitcoin meetup here today at this time. And I know a lot of people who aren't going to be there and are going to go support Charlie Kirk. And so I've felt very saddened. I've felt very heartbroken. I've cried. I've mourned. I'm very angry. I watched this podcast last night with Candace Owens, and she highlights some things that are really concerning, and it's all intervention, right? The intervention isn't just with our monetary policy. Now it's come to the point where they'll assassinate you for speaking your mind. The intervention was clear to me after the great financial crisis, when our taxpayer dollars bailed out the banks who had taken on risky mortgage lending practices. That intervention has just created a fake economy and a fake market. And Bitcoin is the opposite. Bitcoin is the freest. Bitcoin is the signal, right? And now we have intervention in our to a degree where they're just assassinating you if you're saying something that they don't like. So I'm completely disturbed. I know I'm kind of rambling and mumbling, but I need to get that off my chest. So thanks for letting me share a little bit.
For sure. Terence, you mentioned, did I forget anybody else? Paul, there he is. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Good. We missed you yesterday, Loren.
I can't hear.
Can you hear
There he
me?
is.
Yeah, we missed you yesterday, Loren. I agree. There is
Yeah.
a sadness that permeates the world right now. I mean, I got up this morning, getting ready for work, and in my head, I just went, I can't believe he's gone. He was such a strong voice for freedom, and he loved the kids. I mean, there was no one going for the next generation. He was going for that next generation. He cared. I mean, God had anointed this guy to be able to debate. And when you listen to him debate, it made sense, No wonder they wanted to kill him. And of course, there's all kind of stuff flying around. It's like Dark said yesterday. It's like the next part of this is anger, which I'm trying not to walk in. But one thing's for sure, being in this community, it reminds us of that we need to love one another, that we do have an escape. I mean, I always knew the system was broken once it had affected me. I used to actually say when I was, in my mid to late 20s, no, of course I don't vote. It hasn't affected me. And of course, what a dumb statement. By the time, I owned a business and I realized, wait a minute, yeah, I have a vote here. I've got to speak my mind. And then, when 2008 came, and I'm going, my head's spinning. I'm going, what the heck is going on? It happens overnight. And I hear about people losing everything they've got. And of course, it had a toll on me and my family as well. But we're reminding the community like this that we have each other, that we have an exit ramp, that Bitcoin's an exit ramp. And if you understand, Bitcoin is not a place of investment, it's a place to exit the system. It is a way to vote, it's a way to secure your money. I mean, without a doubt, we are the boy that cried wolf. I mean, everybody, my wife has said on many occasions, you've been saying that for years. And I say, I know that. And the message is real. And of course, she's coming around. But this message is going out into the airways. And I thank God for Loren, for Terence. Of course, I came into this group through Terence and through his videos. And now, and like I said the other day, I'm here to stay. I'm going to learn. I want to understand this, and I'm pursuing it. And we have a second chance in this society if we understand the words that Charlie Kirk spoke and we listen to them. We can see hope. There is hope in the Lord and in the exit of the system. So I just want to say this again. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everybody on this space. I'm listening. I want to
Hey, Paul,
understand
if
it.
I sell all of my Bitcoin and put it into Naka, am I exiting the system?
No, you are not. No, you are not. You,
See, Lauren,
don't
I told you should have hung on to your Bitcoin.
don't sell your Bitcoin.
Knock out your keys.
Not your
Naka your keys,
keys.
Naka
Naka
your
your.
keys.
Okay,
Not
it's
your
Naka your
Naka
coins.
your
keys.
coins.
You're hilarious. Appreciate you guys.
Righto. Likewise. Got Pubs up here. Trey's up here. Good morning, Pubby.
Yo, come on, guys. Just jumping in, so I wasn't really sure what your topic is. But thanks for the invite up. I'll just,
Oh, man,
yeah,
there's no topic. We're all
yeah.
over the board. We're just saying good morning right now.
No, I thought, and I know, you had the sort of the high point last week with all the Charlie Kirk talk, and as like anything else, the more sometimes you ruminate on things, and so many people have come out on how it's been changing on so much, and I don't know why. And I'm looking through here and just hearing Paul speak there. One of the things that had come up to me was this manifestation and the disconnect between what people think they see and hear, what others think they see and hear of others, and where we actually are. And what I'm referring to, like the NPCs that have come out, and all they've ever heard is someone is you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're this and you're that, and this is all they hear. And when you ask them, well, do you have an example? And that glaze and blank stare comes over their face. And this happens even to me. Someone, there's something I'll get caught up in. They ask me a question, and then I realize I don't even know. Where did I come? And then I go back and I start to do my own sort of research into this. And I'm thinking, how did I get to this point? How did I believe something so deeply when I couldn't even provide one example of what I believe? So I think people have started to realize that people that have said, you know what, for years I have believed something that I knew nothing about. And it just doesn't have to refer directly to Charlie Kirk. This is anything in your life, anything at all, just how quickly we just take a soundbite, we make it our own with no root to it. So that's what I'm kicking around today.
Yeah, Pubby, there's literally people, and I force myself to subject myself to like CNN, MSNBC. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I force myself to go and check what's going on. What are people saying on Threads? What are people saying on Blue Sky or Reddit, CNN, MSNBC? These people live in a complete alternate reality. They legitimately believe that the shooter was motivated not by left-wing ideology, but by Groyper, far-right ideology. Like the alternate reality. How does American society, how do we come back from a world that is so siloed, that is so bifurcated, into these two alternate realities? Now, one of them is correct, but the other one to those people is real. It is not only real; they are ready to defend it vehemently. Like it's not just like I think it's real and I don't really care. It's like, oh no, like if you dare try to question, you're met with vitriol, and like they are utterly convinced and willing to defend their alternate reality vehemently. Like I don't know how a society functions when you have that degree of balkanization or whatever you want to call it. I also don't see how you coexist with people that want you dead and then will lie about who you were, lie about your ideas, and dance on your grave. Then, by the way, wish death on your children and anyone who goes to your funeral. Like, how am I supposed to coexist with people like that?
Yeah, I think that's sort of the point. Is this is the first time we realize how disconnected we are from each other and this reality. And it was one thing to always have, look, you can have a difference of opinion and power. You have a difference of what you read, but we can't even agree that 1 + 1 = 2 anymore. And we can't even agree on basic law or fact. That, like you say, what hope is there? We can't even agree on the most basic of concepts anymore.
Yeah, I would say it's not a reality at all. I mean, I don't know where they get this stuff. And I hear you speaking on social media platforms and other news places, and you're thinking, where do they get this information? But it is permeating our society. I mean, Charlie Kirk just wrote an article not long ago about this very thing that, like, I think it was 48% of the left said that it was okay to assassinate Elon Musk. I think it was like 53% on Donald Trump, that this assassination culture is permeating our society. And the only thing you can know is that it's coming from way up. These sources that, of course, we're not listening to because our reality is real, theirs is made up.
Well, can I maybe jump in? I don't. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfect, Homer.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of the problem is everyone's convinced that they're right, and when we say we know we're right, we know they're 100% wrong. We need to also check our premises and our positions. And this is by no means to attempt to justify or make excuses for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But if we think we've got all the right answers, we don't. On both sides of the political spectrum, the ridiculous claims being made that don't correspond to reality, which is what the other side then looks at and says, look at how out of touch with reality the other side is. And yeah, so if someone wants to jump in, go ahead. But I just think that we've all become, this is too strong a statement. Many of us have become radicalized. There is strong radicalizing elements on both sides of the political spectrum that succeed because they get individuals all flared up and emotional and angry and therefore committed to saying and defending anything that happens. Like, we have problems on every side of the political spectrum. We have corruption on both sides of the political spectrum. We have abuses on both sides of the political spectrum. We have violence being initiated in different ways on different parts of the world by both sides of the political spectrum. And we don't actually have a voice of moderation and peacefulness coming from either side where the extremes exist. And we have seen violence come from the left, which I know is what people on stage here are saying. And I just want to point out there's room for humility on both sides. Right? I'm not trying to excuse what happened. I'm feeling really raw and really upset about it too. Sorry, I'm in a public place, so there's speaking in the background. Someone else feel free to jump in, refute what I say, or agree, whatever you want.
I agree.
Well,
I
yeah.
agree, Tomer. I agree. I'm sorry. Go ahead, but I totally agree.
I want to
Yeah,
jump
I
in.
agree. I agree too. I was talking specifically this particular assassination, specifically this shooter, specifically this shooter's ideology, radicalization path, and motivations, just in particular to this event. But I do agree generally.
I mean, what you guys aren't taking into account, and I appreciate your perspective, Tomer, but when you, I, hey guys, I've been gone for a while. I've had a bunch of personal stuff going on top of all this other drama, but I've been missing all you guys, and thanks for letting me up, Loren and Terence. I mean, what one side is open to dialogue. It feels like, and I don't consider myself far right, not even close. I think there's a large group on the quote unquote right that is willing to talk, right? And we don't agree with like the stuff that's happening in the school. It's like someone asked, well, how'd they get so radicalized? Have you checked out a college lately? Have you seen the pride flag on the wall? Have you seen the BLM flags on the wall? Like, what does that do to a white kid's psyche, or an Asian kid's psyche, or an Indian kid's psyche? It's fucking crazy. And that
Well,
shit's just
not only that, but then to tell those kids of certain races that they are oppressors, that they are evil, that they are racist, that they are bigots, that they are bad people. Right? It goes even further.
Yeah. And we're just scraping the tip of the spear. I'm going through something in
Okay,
my
so let me jump in again. Let me jump in again and say this is exactly the example of us getting radicalized. If we believe that when kids go to college, that's all they hear, that's all they see. I've been dropping my eldest kid's partner off uh, at at university since Labor Day, and it's pretty. Now I'm in Canada, but it's at a school that's may have been labeled radical, and there's none of that radical stuff going on there. And I've been like hypersensitive. They're coming back from their communications class, and I'm like, what did they teach you? What did they try to indoctrinate you with? And and there's none of that. So things are not as radical everywhere as we've been led to believe. Because what ends up happening is I'm not saying it never happens, but as it does happen, it's what gets
You're
attention in the
crazy,
media. It's
Tomer.
what gets attention.
Schools are overwhelmingly left leaning. You're absolutely living in bizarro land if you think that these schools aren't leaning hardcore to the left. I don't even want to have the conversation with you if that's what you think,
Well,
personally.
something like we have data, guys. We have data. If you look at teacher political donations, like 90, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but last I checked, it was like 92% are leftists. So we have the data to show.
No offense, Tomer, but you're a typical boomer. And why you think that way is because you don't have another 40, 50 years here. And you may care about your kids, but you don't understand the world that they're going to inherit. And it's not going to be a good one. And that's why the first guy on stage, his friends are talking about compounds. I've been contemplating leave the country. If I could, I would get the fuck out of here. I mean, like we're not going in a good direction. And to say that schools aren't radical is fucking insane.
I don't think that's what
Hey,
Well,
hey,
Tomer's
I'd like
saying,
to.
Tomer's
Road
not a boomer.
Warrior. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
Tomer is
not.
I'd
not a
like.
boomer.
One,
Okay,
he's
let's
not a
get it
boomer.
straight
Two,
here.
that's not what he's saying. He's saying that, I think we operate in an echo chamber, especially with social media and what they're portraying. And yes, a lot of it is there, Road Warrior. I agree with you, but it isn't everywhere. I was just over at the USC campus not too long ago. That's very, very, very left, and hardly anyone was saying anything about it or even knew what I was talking about with with Charlie Kirk. Like they were aware of it, but it wasn't like, oh, he deserved to die or I hate what he was saying. And there's lots of protests. There's protests there every single day. But to Tomer's earlier point, I think it's a good exercise for us to think about. Like sometimes I think about, okay, who would be on the left who I just can't stand? I can't stand what they say. Everything is misinformation, disinformation, lies. And I think, okay, what if someone shot Elizabeth Warren, or AOC, or just people that I can't stand? Well, yeah, they don't deserve to be assassinated. They don't deserve to die, right? Their mothers, their sisters, they've got families. But, is part of me like, I don't care, and I just move on? I don't know.
Well,
It's
but that's
something.
different. Yeah, but Terence, that's different from openly celebrating and wishing it on more
I
people,
know. My
right?
point is that I don't think everybody is celebrating that. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the social media is amplifying a lot of that because it gets us talking. It
Well,
gets us distracted.
60,000 are, right? That's a lot of people.
No, I know, but
60,000.
60,000 is a drop in the bucket of the world. But
Well,
And I just to jump in, I'm not saying that people haven't been radicalized, right? But I'm saying that becoming radicalized in reaction to that and saying all the people who are moderate leftists must be extreme leftists is the mistake that we make, and it drives us further apart, I've heard it on this phone call. How can we live with these people? And it's a broad generalization, and if we're of the same view that we can't live peacefully with many people who are living peacefully with us, right? Then we're part of the problem too. And I don't have all the answers, but again, just to make everything black and white and oversimplified is what's it like. Which side are you on, right? There's our side and there's their side, and there's actually a broad spectrum. And the part we should all be on is that we're moderate and non-violent, and peaceful, democratic loving, liberty loving individuals. And there's plenty of room to have political disagreement without having to have the view that either you want me dead or I want you dead. Like there's civility. And that I think is what's being lost in the conversation. We're all raw from the event of last week. So I totally understand where the anger and frustration and desire to find someone and to even seek revenge on. Like I understand that. I feel it too. But then when I try to zoom out, I would just want to say, like, there's there's an probably the majority of people, if not the overwhelming majority of people, are not radicalized. And the danger is the more you focus on the radicals on the opposite side, the more you tend to think everyone is radicalized, and the more vulnerable you become to radicalization and to overgeneralizing the severities of what's going on everywhere.
Yeah,
Hey,
I think
Well,
we're all
before
mad
I
as
just
hell,
I just
right?
hey
want to
Terrence,
say
hang on,
I
hang
want to say
on,
thank
hang
you to
on one sec. Just
Tomer.
can we
What? One
do?
sec,
Hey,
Paul. We've
God
got
bless.
some hands to
Paul.
go through, Paul.
Oh,
One sec.
yeah. We
Sure.
want to try to get some other people worked into this conversation. Just and they've been patiently waiting with their hands up. Plus, at some point, we would like to talk about Bitcoin today. Anyway, I think Zach may be a new speaker. Zach's
Yeah,
had his hand up
Zach
for
and
an
then
hour and a
India,
half
Lauren.
now. So,
Hey, gentlemen, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
yeah, man,
Hey,
glad you're
yeah,
here.
like you said, Bitcoin's for everybody. I love it. So I think Tomer's hitting on some really key points. And these events are going to keep happening. And whether it's somebody on the left or the right, it doesn't matter. I think it's the power structures that be, and I'm not going to put on a tinfoil hat. Everybody can think what they want about that statement. But the power structures that be do not want us getting together. And if you hung out with me online or I hung out with you, we're probably going to identify more right than left, right? But if the people I know in real life that I hang out with actually tend to be more left, there's like a distortion there. Like, what does that mean? And I think this framework of thinking has just helped me so much, especially with raising kids. And it's two things can be true. And I think these power structures, they want us to fight. They want us to disagree to such a great degree that we can't break bread together. And all the people that I know, quote unquote, on the left are really reasonable and rational people. And they might vote a little different than me. But God, do I love the heck out of them. And I love them because they're different. And I can break bread with them and have challenging conversations. But at the same time, I refuse to let any event or any social media tell me that they do not have more in common with me than we do not. And I think that is so important. And that's like these echo chambers we live in. I think we got to keep reminding ourselves of that because the power structures that be, again, I'll say it again, they want this. They want us to blame and point fingers. Now, again, like I said, two things can be true. I can be seething at the mouth, angry about this assassination and other things going on in this country, but I am going to loathe or even hate an idea, but I am not going to loathe or hate another person because that only makes me worse off and that makes our fellow man worse off. And I think that's one beautiful thing about Bitcoin. And I started with saying it's for everybody, right? And that's what brought us all here today in the first place was Bitcoin. And it's here for everybody. And it sounds like a lot of people might be leaning right that are speaking. Great. Like I'm with you. I'm leaning right too. But like let's not forget that we have so much more in common than we do not. Thanks, guys.
India.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity, man. So, I mean, I kind of agree with everybody. You're all talking, political stuff here, and it's important because politics and is important to any country. But I think for a time being, if we can just leave the politics aside, because I know America is getting more radicalized, but India has lived through it. We had I mean, I don't want to lambast anybody, but we had a 10% Muslim population in 1947. Now you have a 22%. So it's an increase of 12% in 70 years, which is like a lot. And India has a population of 1.46 billion people. So you can imagine the growth rate. But having said that, immigration is also a big problem. But who's going to solve the janitor problem? Who's going to clean the toilets? So, I mean, I want to keep all the discussions aside. In fact, I want to talk about more of the economic side. And that's the whole thing that, we as Bitcoiners share because we believe in sound money, sound relationships, and sound health. And that's what we're here to discuss how to increase our, stack of sats. Now, first of all, congratulations to Robert. Excellent tweet. I intuitively, instinctively, immediately reposted it when you talked about why the US cannot afford a recession. So, coming to the economics, I am on the cautiously optimistic side because I see the business cycle rolling over a little bit. I mean, I'm into the loan aggregation business. I see private credit in India is also a bubble. And I personally feel that in the US, it's a much bigger bubble. And I think this bubble is about to burst because the non banking financial companies or institutions, as you call them, or private debt funds or hedge funds, the amount of money that they've poured in since COVID is like enormously high. Now, why I'm in the cautiously optimistic scenario is because I personally feel that the business cycle, which has been continuing since 2009, and we've seen like equities and real estate soar. We're in a 16 or 17 year now bull market. I personally see that rolling over a little bit. But on the other side, I see Robert's post, which I instinctively liked, which say that the US cannot afford a recession because the deficits will soar, the deficit to GDP will increase, the expenditures will increase, the revenues will go down. Now, I want to ask you, Robert, what exactly is the camp that you believe in? You believe that the US will no longer have a recession, we will continue on this money printing train, and that assets will continue to go up, the SPX oblique GDP will continue to go up, trending in a line, while the real income and wages continue to drop in a
Yep.
straight line down. And
Yep.
or
So
else you think, or else you think that the business cycles do matter, the consumer sentiment is in the toilet, and you feel that you, no matter what amount of money printing you bring in back again, the psychology of the consumer cannot be changed, and that will be the last final big print before stagflation takes over. That's my question to
yeah,
you.
it's a good question. Look, I have generally, going back to April, May, fallen into the kind of reacceleration and nominal growth. Back then, you have to remember nominal growth was, I think, 1.5, 2, and we're at 6 now. So far that has proven correct. Whether or not it continues for the next 6 months is a different question. And so, as I'm evaluating that question of whether or not the reacceleration, growth remains robust. We know inflation is certainly durable and becoming structural at this point, due to the fiscal, due to the immigration policy, due to deglobalization, due to a lot of factors. We know one side of nominal growth is likely headed higher. So really, you get down to talking about real GDP. Where do you see real GDP going? Well, in the second quarter, it was 3.3% on an inflation adjusted basis annual rate, and whether does it stay at 3.3, above 3, call it, probably not. I do see it probably falling, but the major reason to doubt a healthy growth environment was the labor market. And I'll just point out, it even got me to second guess, when all the CNBC people were calling for a recession, I was telling people, no, guys, like, and GDP is about to go, 4, 5, 6%. Sure enough, that's what happened. But the question becomes, like, the labor market, how much of the labor market signals that we've been getting, both through non-farm payrolls, JOLTS versus unemployed, all these different metrics. Well, what got me second guessing the kind of robust growth was the initial claims data from last week. That was what got me starting to question it. We know unemployment's been ticking up for 2.5, 3 years, and that's just a normalization from kind of post-COVID craziness, both on the immigration side and the monetary side, fiscal side. So that was normalization. Rising unemployment does not have to get nonlinear. It generally does in a recession, but it doesn't have to. You can have a period of time of normalization, like JOLTS now being below unemployed. That is the norm from 2001 through 2018. That was the norm, to have more unemployed than job openings, right? So a lot of this stuff is just normalization that we're seeing, that some people are misconstruing as the labor market is falling apart. And look, it's not great. It's especially not great for certain populations. We know Black unemployment skyrocketed. We know youth unemployment is now above 10%. So certain populations, labor market is especially bad. But that is not, when we talk about economics, we could wish that economic data was better. We could wish it was disaggregated, and we could have an economic conversation about the lower half but like, at the end of the day, we have one real GDP number. We have one core CPI number, right? Like, we're talking in aggregate. In aggregate, that initial claims data was due to fraud. And so, yeah, you had to break out in initial claims to the upside, 263K, if I remember correctly. But it was due to fraud. Texas came out. There's a Bloomberg story yesterday saying that was due to fraudulent claims. So once that gets worked out, revised to accounting for the fraud, Then the initial claims data, if you look at like a 9-month, 6-month rolling average, moving average of initial claims, it's not looking particularly concerning. Same with unemployment. What you have is a lower break even rate, right? During Biden, when we're importing 10 million foreign nationals per year or whatever it was, then yeah, you're going to have a higher break even rate of like 200,000, 180,000. But if you look at the Fed's own website, their own work, their own academic research has found that that break-even rate is now closer to 30,000. So that makes, look, yeah, the NFPs are not going to be 170,000 per month like we were seeing under the last administration, but that does not mean that the labor market is weakening. If you're decreasing the labor supply, which I agree with, this will put upward pressure on wages for Americans. I agree in principle with that. If you're doing that, you are going to have, to some degree, a tightening of the labor market, because again, then you have to look to demand. Well, how's demand doing? Well, if you look at personal spending, consumer spending, even on a real basis, it looks fine. If you look, yeah, like the lower half of the leg of the K is not doing well. I think we all admit that. I mean, I'm the first person to talk about the silent depression. But like, again, in aggregate, real GDP looks fine. ISM, if you look at ISM new orders, those look really good. Now prices are also indicating some further inflation, but again, that just goes to higher nominal growth. So yeah, I don't really think,
Can
especially,
I interject you here? Can I interject you here?
yeah.
So I believe that you've spoken about one dimension, which is the labor, and about the immigration and the labor adjustment, making it 30,000, which is a fair deal. Now, my second question to you would be that what about the bond markets? Because the bond markets generally don't lie. And although the yields are a lagging indicator, but I think the 2-year has been, trending down. It's just tagging the trend line channel at about 3.5. It's done that about 2 times in this year. And I think the third time it happens, although I feel after the rate cuts, I presume that the 2-year is actually going to rally, because after the rate cuts, it's going to be like optimism for the markets and bullishness everywhere. And I think we head really high, especially for risk assets in Q4. But I think the third time it tracks the trend line on the back end of the channel, I think it goes down. And that, I think, will be the end of the business cycle, in my opinion. What do you say? Because I feel the bond markets don't lie,
Yeah,
because
no,
they're the biggest markets in the world.
it's a fair point. I point that out all the time. I look to the bond markets too. They're for sure the smartest capital in any market. What I would point out is that I watch Bloomberg, the morning show, right? Like the 2-hour morning show every morning, and literally for the past like 9 months, every single fixed income investor was long a steepener, right? Literally everyone and their mother was long a steepener. And so, once you start, taking profit on that trade, that literally everyone and their mom was long a steepener. Once you start taking profit on that, then of course that brings into question the levered steepener trades, right? And I think that's what we have been seeing over the past 2 weeks, is to some degree that. Now, look, there's certainly some of the move in, say, the 30-year yield, or really across the curve. There's some amount of it that is due to that was the catalyst, right? The impetus for the move was NFP, jolts, right? Various data that we've gotten for the labor market. That might have been the spark, but I think that the degree of the move is much more a story of levered traders getting unwound and profit taking from literally like every firm possible was long a steepener. So I think it's a bit of both. I think, look, the labor market is certainly softening. I'm not saying that it is the labor market is going to heat up, right? Like I don't see that, especially when you have productivity running 3.3%. Right, that came in way above expectations. You look at manufacturing ISM, employment has been below 50 for like, I don't know, 18 months or something. It's crazy. And even ISM services employment is pretty weak. Now, new orders is good, business activity is good with ISM services, but employment's not. So yeah, the labor market's certainly softening. I just question the kind of imminent recession. It's a 90% chance because, like you said, Scott Besson and Stephen Myron, certainly Besson, are smart enough to understand that the math that I laid out in the post you were talking about earlier, they are smart enough to understand that. And you have to remember, we have fiscal expansion coming in the early part of next year with the One Big Beautiful Bill. So we'll get a fiscal stimulus, a fiscal expansion from that bill. And really, it's just, 3 months away before we get to 2026. So I think that Besson's smart enough to understand the math. Look, it would take our deficit to at least 15, 16, 17% of GDP. And you look to UK, right? They thought, oh, every slowdown, bonds get bid, yields come down. They're a developed market, right? They're not Turkey, they're not Argentina. But then look at what has happened in various different slowdowns in the UK. You have rates up, currency down, equities down. And we're seeing that. We saw that in the US, right? The single biggest negative growth shock in a decade, or at least going back to COVID, was the tariffs. And what happened to bonds in the face of that? You had yields shoot higher. You had the currency sell off, bonds sell off, and equities sell off. And that was in America. That was in the reserve currency issuer of the world. Then you look to France. Then you look to Italy. And you look to UK, we have seen this before, where growth slowdown, basically a balance of payments crisis starts to emerge in a relatively developed economy. So I think that, the likelihood that rates go up, they might go down at first, right? But then you just get a brutal steepening of the yield curve and sell off in bonds. I think that if we do go into a slowdown, number one, it's going to take the deficit to 15, 16, 17, maybe even higher percent of GDP, number one. Number two, I think, you might get a bid into bonds, but again, how much of that is already priced in? But then kind of that second move would be just like face-ripping steepening of the yield curve. And eventually, look, they would step in sooner or later. I mean, even today with the SOFR, really the past 2 weeks with SOFR Fed funds really starting to blow out, like liquidity conditions and a need for quantitative easing, a need for balance sheet expansion. We're already seeing it with the SOFR Fed fund spread. And if you add weakness in, you add the prospect of a 15, 16% budget deficit as a share of GDP, I think that all the traditional playbook of bonds get bid, growth is low. I'm not saying that they won't get bid maybe a little bit, but I think that we're entering kind of a new paradigm, if that makes sense. Because again, Besson's smart enough to understand the math, and that's yield curve control, right? Like a 15, 16, 17% budget deficit, that's yields are most likely going up, especially at the long end. And that's not just me, some wacky Bitcoin guy talking about it. That's Jeffrey Goonblock, right? He's been saying that for a year. He is one of the smartest bond investors arguably in the country, if not maybe even the world. He has been calling for the next growth slowdown, the next recession, that sort of thing. You would see long end rates up, and so it's not. I think it's becoming more of a consensus view.
Hey, before we go to Rusty, move on in the conversation since you had your hand.
Loren,
Yes, sir.
Loren, move out from under the trees. We can't. You're going into robot mode. All right. Well, I
All
hope we
right,
don't
am I
get
a
rugged.
robot?
I think he was saying, Trey, you had your hand up for a long time. Can we go to you? And
Okay,
then let's welcome Dark, too, because Dark's now here.
sure. I kind of forgot what I had my hand up for. It was so long ago.
Okay, good. Let's go to Rusty.
I think we've moved on. But I will just say real quick on what Robert's talking about. Like the way that I think about this is you get yields when there's liquidity issues, and then you get yields higher when it's just like depressionary stagflation, so to speak, right? So like the slow grind, the silent depression that you're talking about, in my mind, that keeps yields higher as these deficits stay wide, and any kind of like crisis would be pricing in more liquidity. But when the actual crisis comes into play, people still are clamoring for treasuries and for dollars, and we'll get those yields lower. I know it didn't happen in the last one, but I'm I'm not convinced that that wasn't just a single event that um, that that can be singled out from the rest of the historical patterns.
Dark.
Is this
I
better?
think Lauren's in an
Terrence, can
area
you
where
hear?
he can't talk. Oh yeah, that's better.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Hey, did we had Rusty with his hand up as well, so we don't want to forget about him. Good morning, Dark. How are you, sir?
Good
Morning,
Uh,
everybody. How you doing? Go ahead, Rusty.
sorry, Dark. In for Robert. You
Rusty.
touched on everything, kind of at the end of your rant there. What I was going to ask you, so I'm good. Go ahead, Dark.
Yeah. So, look, I think you, especially India and Trey, to a lesser extent, Robert, you guys are talking about this like, economic theory as if we have a free market economy, and we don't, right? Like everything is fixed, everything is rigged. So I'm not sure any of this shit even matters. The only question I have is, is this the crack up boom that follows unlimited excessive debt creation as Mises presented? I think it is. So I don't think any long rates, spreads, it's all fixed, right? Whether it's yield curve control, whatever, like everything's got a fancy name to it. In the end, it's just like it's a completely rigged economy, right? It's completely centrally planned. And how long can the central planners get away with rigging the numbers or rigging the system, right? Until the market calls bullshit and people just escape, because that's how this ends.
Doc,
I
can
I
I
don't think
think
it's any
if
disagree?
more.
it's
Can I can
calling
I can I
bullshit, then
counter argue with you a little bit, Doc, if you don't mind?
No, nah. I don't really feel like arguing today. Now, go ahead, Indy.
So, I personally disagree a little bit with because the fact that I think the only thing that stands in between you and your theory of the cracker boom is Jerome Powell. I think he's been a man of his word until now. I'm not a fan
Oh,
of
for
central
fuck's
banking.
sake.
I'm not a fan of central banking. In fact, I would like to abolish the Fed. But the point is that they exist, and that's the reality. And what he's been saying, he's been doing. And the policy has been pretty restrictive. I think the actual cracker boom will happen when the Fed starts to ease into an inflationary environment with rising
Well,
10-year yields.
that's
I
going to
don't
happen
think it's
tomorrow.
happened.
That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow. That's literally tomorrow.
With the way the 2-year and the 10-year is behaving at the moment, I don't see that happening at least for this year. And that's the reason why I
So
still believe in the
You don't think the Fed
cycle.
cuts tomorrow?
For sure, it cuts. I'm not saying that it
well,
does not cut. It's
CPI
already
is at
priced in.
They're
3,
easing.
inflation's at 3. Like what?
Yeah, they're
So
inflation
that's
is
the
not
new
at 3.
normal, guys.
Inflation is
That's the new
whoa,
normal.
whoa, 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 whoa.
They've
Inflation is at
accepted
10.
it.
Inflation is at 10. Okay. We know that the CPI is completely bullshit, rigged, and I just posted, I guess now 38% of the CPI numbers is imputed numbers. They don't even collect the data anymore. Plus, you have to add to that M2 money creation,
Yeah, but
right?
that's
We're
at
running a 2
5.
trillion.
That's at 5%. So 10, I
Okay, so five and five is 10.
wait, 5
Whatever you want to
plus
say,
5?
like whatever number let's just say this:
I
whatever
think it
number
goes
they're.
much higher than that, Dark. I think that will be the definition of a cracker boom. But anyways,
Yeah,
I
like
can
look.
happily agree and disagree both at the same time. I can present
I
both
can
sides of
show
the
you
argument.
that I can show you stakes that were $10 last year are now $15 this year. Okay, that's not 3%. That's 50%. Right. So I mean, like the things yeah, I guess, I don't know how much flash memory I need, but I guess flash memory went down. So maybe we should, say, okay, well that reduces inflation, but I have all the flash memory I need. I can go buy like terabytes of flash memory for $8. Who cares? Right? Like it's all a scam, man. Everything that you're being presented is a scam. Once you can kind of get to the level that you just believe nothing of what you hear and only half of what you see, then you kind of have to look at actually, well, like what are the costs that I have in my life? Does anyone believe inflation's 3%?
And that's the reason why we Bitcoiners are so much ahead of the curve. We understand this monetary debasement that's happening. It's just that we were discussing about the next immediate 3 to 6 month period. That's all.
Yeah,
It
well,
doesn't.
again,
It
I
doesn't
mean,
matter, Dark. We're talking about different things. We're talking about the Fed, right? Jerome Powell thinks inflation's 3, right? And he's still
who
going to
cares?
cut. And he's still going to
Jerome
cut.
Powell's a criminal. He's a cartel member. He's no different than the guys running the Sinaloa cartel or any other cartel. It's all the same shit. They'll use violence to enforce their belief system and to make money for his member banks. Like, he's a crook. Like, for us to sit here and like have an honest discussion of what the criminals are up to is a joke. It's a fucking joke. I mean, with all due respect, and again, I'm not trying to knock anybody on this space. I'm just calling balls and strikes. Like, look at when they tell you it's 3%, go out and look at your costs. Does anybody think that things cost 3% more than they cost last year?
Doc, I don't think anybody disagrees in this group with you. It's just about the common market perception and the Wall
But
Street
who gives a
perception.
fuck? This is my
That's
whole
what we
point.
want.
But who cares what the common market perception is? Are we in a crack up boom? Everything's going up. Everything. Bitcoin's
Hey,
going up.
I've got
The
some
Nasdaq's going.
reporting on the scene here in New York City. I'm going to be hanging with Sailor tomorrow at the Kotzman thing, but I am in NYC and I need to report down from the ground that I was just coming out of a McDonald's and I spent $16 and it was packed. They and it was completely like they couldn't get they don't can't get anyone to work there. There was just a mess. There was garbage everywhere. So, and that's $16 a meal. So I don't. It feels like a crack up boom to me.
There you go. I mean, look, just stop. Like,
Don't eat that shit. It's bad for you.
don't believe your lying eyes. That's what the message is, right? Like, we'll tell you everything's fine. We'll tell you rates are going down, but we're in the middle of a crack up boom. All you gotta do is look around you. I mean, look at the Nasdaq.
Good morning, Eric.
Yeah, thank you. No,
Sorry,
I mean,
Dark.
I
I didn't
need
mean
to
to
be
step on you
stopped. I
there.
need to be put back in a cage or something.
No, you don't. You need to be
I
unleashed.
could go for hours.
No, I'm
You
Yeah. Unleash the
like,
beast.
even Zero Hedge this morning is talking about, like, you know, the different effects. Like, Zero Hedge is an Austrian economics, perspective on the world, and they don't accept that we're in a crack up boom. They're trying to explain it away. The whole thing, like, it's
Dark. Did you see I think he posted it, but Goldman Sachs put out a note saying that like 58% of fund managers believe that stocks are overvalued, but yet 30% of them are overweight those same stocks. Like, you see headlines like that, and it's like, okay, so wait, so they understand that the real value of the thing they're buying is grossly over, but then they're even more allocated to that very same. Like, I see the
what the
signpost
hell
to
do you buy? Like, they
Bitcoin and
can't buy
gold.
bit. They are. Look at gold. Look at silver.
That's a good question. Gold is an all-time high, being a risk-off asset. Risk on assets are all-time highs. Nasdaq is an all-time high. The
Everything's at an
denominator
all-time
is
high.
melting away. I completely agree with you, man. It's the US dollar which is melting away.
Yeah, everything's at an all-time high. I mean, like, you're watching it right before your eyes, yet we're kind of like discussing, like the microeconomics of why this is that. It's all bullshit. It's all lies. Like,
But
100%
if that
lies.
if that is true, then I would feel that the 4 year cycle is actually dead.
Of course
Because
it
you know what?
is. Every cycle
Because you
is
know what?
dead. We're in a
Hmm.
crack up boom, man. We're going parabolic. We're in the parabolic phase of a crack up boom. Like, look at the charts of, like, use your brain and go back and look at Weimar, look at Venezuela, look at Argentina, look what happened, right? And then look at what we're doing. Look at gold. Like, the S&P hasn't gone up in gold terms,
It's
right?
gone
Like, just
down.
look. Yeah, of course. Like, just use your common sense. Stop. Like, turn off the fucking, you know, um, the fire hose of bullshit information that you're being fed, and use your common sense.
let's tie this together as well. Canada's coming out with a digital wallet. Vietnam accounts were just closed for forced digital ID, and now the Patriot Act is being used against digital assets. Guys, again, Dart couldn't have said it better. Learn to trust your lying eyes. Like we are absolutely have been being played for a long time, and we are being played like a fiddle right now, especially through finance guys who trust the numbers of the government. They're all fake. This is a fake economy with people leading it who have financial incentive to lead you astray. To me, the scariest thing, which is something we both talked about, Dark and I've been talking about for a while, I think self-custody Bitcoin becomes super important when someone starts dropping the hammer. The hammer is already starting to be dropped. It's being dropped in Vietnam. It's being dropped in Canada. It's being dropped here with the Patriot Act. That's why we're watching, but we watch hours and hours of spaces on Naka and whatever treasury. Buy your own Bitcoin, put it in self-custody, go chill out. Everything else is a mess.
Didn't Thailand just freeze 4 million accounts and like
Yep.
it's spreading around the world. But don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to Naka. David Bailey's the problem. Michael
Naka your keys, Naka your Bitcoin, Dark.
David
Not
Sa-
going to make it.
yeah. Yeah, David Bailey, Michael Saylor. These are man, everybody's
Talking
got
about
their
that.
eyes on the wrong fucking charts.
This is refreshing.
Terrence, we got a bunch of hands up. You want to? Yeah. Eric, were you finished speaking, by the way, sir?
Oh,
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. Terrence, you want to? I don't know what order, but I see there's
I'm
several
I'm
hands
gonna
up.
guess Taylor because Taylor's been very patient, but I just wanted to quickly add to what Dark was saying. I mean, we Bitcoiners really know this, but it's so true. It's like they keep telling us what interest rates are, what inflation is, but you just have to look within, look at your own basket of goods. Like a five, a $10 something that's $10 a year later isn't $10.30. It's $12. That little $10 thing is, my basket of goods is probably 25 to 30%, I want to say, ever since COVID. For the last 4 or 5 years, it's 20 to 30% every single year. So 3% isn't even remotely close for anything that I'm buying. So, and I don't, I would love for someone to say, here's my basket of goods. I'd love for someone to tweet and say, here's the 5 to 10 things I buy every month and show me how it's on average 3% from 12 months ago. I seriously, I like, please prove us, show us what that CPI is that's doing that. It's CP lie, not CPI. Taylor.
So I was born in '86. So some of you guys that are a little older than me are going to be able to testify of this a little bit stronger than I am. But I grew up hearing about how all the numbers were made up in the USSR, and how the USSR was just a big scam, and it was a big house of cards and a big scam. And for a number of years now, it's been very apparent to me that that's exactly what's going on in the United States. It's
Yeah, I
just,
mean, the Bolshevik
it's
Revolution in America is real,
that's
Taylor.
right. You can just look at it. It's the same playbook. It's the same thing that was going on in the USSR, right around the time I was born.
All right, I think we've got Jeremy and then CH Ottle.
Hey, I agree with everything Doc's been saying about the crack up boom, but let's just take a contrary point of like the central bank. Let's just call it what it is, a banking cartel. What if they tighten instead of loosen and say they pull the stock market down 50% or something? That's going to cascade effect would be, residential and commercial real estate would crash. And basically anybody that was levered at that point would be liquidated, and the cartel would the fiat they
Dude,
loaned out, they would gain real world assets. And historically, this is what
what
they
if, dude,
do at the
what
end of a
what
boom cycle.
what if they get naked and run around the street and fucking do jumping jacks? Who gives a rat's ass what the central bank does?
Well,
Seriously, who gives a rat's
well,
ass?
well, Doc, I did,
I want an invitation to
Like,
Moscow.
yeah,
we are in the middle of a looting. They are
yeah,
looting, right?
I
So
I
if
agree
they get
100% with you, Doc. But I just want the people in this room, if you're levered be careful because this is how they steal your real world assets. Because if
Dude,
you can't pay your leverage, they're going to confiscate it.
dude, if they cause a deflationary spiral right now, they will be assassinated in the town square. Just
I I
understand that.
I
They
agree
know that.
100%, and I
There's,
agree that the political. I don't think we get the political
but that's
horsepower
the
to.
point. Like, of
So
course, look, if they cared two bits about our society, they would raise, but they can't raise because they'll get shot. The same way the
exactly.
guy from United Healthcare got shot,
I
right? Like
agree. I agree
the
100%. I just warn people about leverage. That's all. That's just my 2 cents.
I don't think anything's going to happen to the stock market or real estate anytime soon. They can't. They've reached the point of no return.
I
They can't allow those to go down.
I agree.
Total.
Thanks for letting me up.
Hello, everybody. I keep coming back to Bitcoin's about accountability and truth. And we've got so many people that are actively and passively choosing to remain asleep. And I come back to something Eric said the other day about the gentleman coming up next to him and breaking down and praying, and Eric reaching over with his arm. And my point here is, any chance that we have to speak with people who are remaining asleep, whether they know it or not, to let them see the truth is our obligation as Bitcoiners. And Dark, God bless you for being so passionate at times, because this is an echo chamber, but it's outside of this echo chamber where we need to continually make progress. So, in Charlie's memory, and even the United Healthcare CEO, when people tell the truth, we just need to make sure that we're getting all the facts out to everybody. So I just, keep raising my hands that when we step away from the space, please try to do what you can in your community to get people the facts. That was it.
Eric.
Yeah, guys, great discussion. Sorry, I hopped in a little later. Had some work to do, but it seems to me like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, everyone was talking about macro and Powell and stocks and bonds and all these other things, and a few of us stayed very, passionately driven. I love gold. I love Bitcoin. But everything, if you haven't noticed, what we called, I don't know, almost a year ago now, is that over the next, call it a year, they're going to find all these cool little shiny lures out there for you to not self custody Bitcoin. I think conversations like this, watching what's happening with digital wallets, digital ID, all these other things, like, what are any of you doing in proxy Bitcoin investments at this point in time? Right now, it's about self custody, self preservation. I do believe that we're in a crack up boom as well. I think we're going to see assets soar, and it doesn't matter what asset it is, because it's all a lie. So the lie will persist until the lie cannot persist anymore, and eventually the music stops and the chairs are, you either have a chair or you don't have a chair. But there will be this boom that everyone's going to talk about for a long time. I think the stock market will rage. These treasury companies will do really well miraculously out of nowhere, and people will stop buying self custody Bitcoin while they're trying to impose the Patriot Act on digital assets in this country. Good luck doing that in self custody. Good luck getting my self custody Bitcoin by using the Patriot Act. But I'll tell you what's very easy to get your Bitcoin in is publicly traded stocks in brokerage accounts. That is the most vulnerable position you can be in with your wealth when a government is coming out and actively saying, we're going to use the Patriot Act for digital assets. Vietnam is closing bank accounts. Canada is launching digital IDs. By the way, Trump has mentioned the importance of biometrics. That's what's being used in Vietnam, is biometric digital ID. They're saying he's going to use it for the border, but we all know anything that's used in one area of the country ends up being used against everyone else. And we have these other lies like Palantir. The government the government won't sign contracts with us because our software won't work against Americans. Like, what are we, idiots? Like, stop being an idiot. I think what Dark is talking about is so important. Use your eyes and ears. If you're a believer, Jesus used the term, those with eyes to see and ears to hear, often, basically telling you, use your common sense, be a good person. Those who can hear me can hear my message. This is the time to use your eyes and ears, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be a fear monger. I'm just literally telling you factual events from around the world and drawing conclusions that if one nation is going to lock people out of their checking accounts, another nation is going to do it. I would actually find it comical if the Federal Reserve raised interest rates tomorrow. That would be entertaining, to say the least. But I also think the guys are right. I think if they raised interest rates, which I think there's a 0% chance of that happening. If they did that, and the market would supposed to have crashed, but it will go up because it's all rigged. Like no one can explain how any of these things happen except for the fact that false data is prevalent and that false assumptions about false data are dangerous. So the things that are actual factual news for us right now is that there are conflicts growing throughout the world. There are countries locking people out of checking accounts for not using biometric digital IDs. That is happening. There are countries launching digital IDs and digital wallets and biometric programs with conflicts occurring throughout the world that are not de-escalating, they're growing. These are, but you will go on a Twitter space today and it'll be all hunky-dory of how the Federal Reserve is so smart. The Federal Reserve is page 5 of the Communist Manifesto. It is a absolute construct of communism. We have lived under a form of communism for 112 years, and eventually the iron fist comes down. And there's nothing anyone can do to stop it after 112 years. I will preach today, going back to what Chodel said. Number one, be kind to your neighbors. This is not the time to be a mess. This is the time to have a cool head, to be kind to people, to show them love, to tell them the truth, and to try to save them a little bit. Get into stuff like and self-custody your gold. You think gold repositories won't get strong-armed at some point to take your gold? Self-custody everything you possibly can right now. Protect your stuff. Be a good person. Praise God in all moments of your life. And chill. That is the one thing that brought me to Bitcoin, is the fact that my life is so de-stressed, knowing that right now, if the government wanted to take my money, they couldn't. Like, that is the benefit from someone who is a freedom maximalist. I haven't been a Bitcoin maxi for the years that you guys have, but as a freedom maximalist, I sleep really well at night, and I'm probably on more lists than most of you guys. So will that happen in America? Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. But it is happening throughout the world, and I think you're going to see people in other countries start buying more Bitcoin as they see their tyrannical governments clamping down on them. We would be last, obviously. So I don't really have these fears for America. But it's important to have Bitcoin, self-custody Bitcoin, while the rest of the world goes into lockdown, because when this hits Europe, and I believe it will hit Europe probably in the next month or two, you're going to see Europeans buying Bitcoin books by the dozens, or you're going to see them fall into complete tyranny. This is in my analysis of Bitcoin after all these years, this was the two strongest features to me. It wasn't the scarcity is cool. For me, it was the uncensorable part where no one could actually block my transactions, and the fact that it was unconfiscatable. Why would you not use those two pillars of the Swiss Army knife at all times? That's just kind of my. We had a space with Gary yesterday. We talked about this a lot. Like, but why are you buying Nakamoto? What in the and everyone's bored. Good. Boredom is where you can go do other stuff. You don't need to worry about go hiking, go bungee jump. You want to thrill, go do something like that in life. Right now, I think it's time to be very cautious. And of course, if you're a stock guy, you're going to do really well for a few months. You're going to crush it for a few months. But I think Bitcoin goes along for that ride. So just going to kind of preach what I always preach: self-custody Bitcoin, protect yourself, get out of the system, and just chill, let it ride.
Yeah, Simon always says the killer app of Bitcoin is self-custody. Hey, Taylor, your hand's up.
Hey, so I've shared this before, but kind of my history with Bitcoin is I got into it in 2013. I graduated with a finance degree in 2013, and I already had a pretty good portfolio of stocks that I had built throughout my university time, and before that actually. But 2014, I sold all those and put them into Bitcoin, and then by 2020, all my Ethereum that I got for $9 and all my other shit coins, those all went into Bitcoin. And then in 2024, January, sold our house. That went into Bitcoin. And everything I have now at this point is in Bitcoin.
It
And
sounds like you have a lot of Bitcoin.
it's not about the amount, it's just the percentage. And
Sounds like you have a high percentage of Bitcoin.
yeah, I have a pretty good percentage. It's
About the size.
so the hard part is I'm like just adamantly cold storage Bitcoin, and I'm 100% in cold storage Bitcoin. And it takes humility, because it's humiliating a lot of the time, because you watch MicroStrategy guys outperform you by 3x the last few months. You watch watch this guy, stupid shitcoin, go 10x over Bitcoin, but it takes just recognizing that you're not smart enough to time the rug. When we get rugged by the Federal Reserve, we get rugged by the federal government. Like I don't have the ability to time that, and so I hedge that by just being in Bitcoin, and like Bitcoin it's like the shortcut, it's the roundabout. If you guys have ever read the Tao of Capital, it's the it's just the shortcut. But in the meantime, it takes humility to recognize that you're just not that smart, I guess, and it's not always easy. But I it's easy on my mind and my mindset when it just keeps me level, I think. So I recommend it, but it's a paradigm shift to get there.
Thanks, Taylor. Did you hear that, Lauren? He's saying that you're not that
What
smart.
I hear? What I miss? No, that is very true. I am not that smart, but thank God I'm in these rooms with a bunch of smart people because it's rubbing off on me. No, I think going along with that is there's other people in the life raft, but I think they're paddling the wrong way. And I think that there's a lot of mixed messages going, and this is not personal. I think people think I have this ongoing feud with one particular person, but it goes much farther than that. I'm frustrated, and it's not personal at all. I respect and admire these people, but when we're out there shilling altcoins, you're no better than the current system. You're actually trying to rug other people, and it really distracts from the sovereignty and from the escape vehicle. And it stretches all the way from folks running exchanges that are selling these shit coins to people that are actually accepting sponsorships from these things for their own professional sports teams and so forth. And to me, this is extremely frustrating in a time when people really need to hear a clear signal. They're getting all the mixed messages. And so I think it's very important for us who really feel convicted that Bitcoin is the only way to keep applying pressure to these folks so that they stop with all the noise and we actually can hear the true signal. So with that, I will get off my
Yeah,
soapbox.
Bitcoiners sometimes, especially the OGs, I think they just get bored, and so the new shiny thing comes along, like treasury companies, and they're like, "Oh, well, wait a minute, maybe I should be getting into this." And some of those have, an advantage and privileged position where they can get in before regular people and then out, which is the whole reason we came to Bitcoin in the first place, to escape that sort of privilege. And so it's just it's ironic when I see, like, just with the whole Nakamoto stuff coming out yesterday, I was just like, wow, that's just really disappointing.
For sure. Hey, I know there's other people that jumped up
What?
on the
Really?
stage. If you guys want to I know it's hard to believe. Like the Sebast guy, just throw your hand up if you want to interject a comment. We'll try to work you into the conversation. Simon's up
I see
here. I was
Simon's
curious to
hand,
hear
Lauren.
Josh's.
When the hand goes up, that means they're ready to speak.
But if you have to say Simon says, and Simon didn't say so, so Simon,
Yeah,
good
I
morning or afternoon
apologize.
where
I
you
don't seem
wherever
to
you are.
have the function that raises the hand on my Android app. I have been waiting. Just let me know if I'm in a queue or whatever.
Simon's name. Yeah, okay, we'll go. We'll let you go right after Simon. I thought, man, Simon's voice changed a little bit, so we'll go to Simon and then over to whoever that
Sebastian.
was. Sebastian, thank you. Simon.
Hey guys, been a little while. Thought I'd pop in. Um, I guess I'll just say my 2 cents on the. You know, I've been trying to warn against. I think it's very sad that somebody has to be assassinated for people to kind of wake up. But sometimes that's what it takes, right? We don't wake up until we absolutely have to, and sometimes something tragic has to happen. I'll just give my 2 cents and then I'll tie it back into what I think we're seeing. I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but personally, I can neither mourn nor celebrate. The reason for that is because, Charlie was funded by an ideology that the United Nations has just attributed to 200,000 deaths, 80% civilians. And sadly, if you find yourself in a business where you're funded by that ideology, you are in the mafia. And once you're in the mafia, you can't escape the mafia. And if your ideology changes or you learn new information that leads to you wanting to go in a different direction, in the case of Charlie Kirk, that coincided with him getting assassinated and having his life taken. And so, I've been trying to warn people about that ideology and the consequences that come with it. And Charlie Kirk did try to escape that ideology. I'm not saying that's what exactly happened here, but that's the series of events that we've just witnessed. And so, sadly, we've found ourselves in a position where many companies take Silicon Valley money. Silicon Valley money is the same trap, to be funded by that ideology. A bunch of people that are from our community, whether it be Jack Mallers, whether it be Adam Back, whether it be Michael Saylor, whether it be um, David Bailey. They've taken the Wall Street banksters' mafia money and they've securitized themselves into a shitcoin tradable version of Bitcoin by taking money from the Wall Street banksters in order to make a quick buck. And many people would fall for that. And so they are also in a situation that they might not be able to walk away from. And when you walk away from that ideology, sometimes you end up, and I hope this doesn't happen, and I'm not saying it is going to happen, but there's a reason why they trap you in. There's a reason why Wall Street want you to hold your Bitcoin with them. There's a reason why they want your companies to go public. There's a reason why they want to rope all technology into the Silicon Valley mafia, because you become a useful idiot and a tool for the system. And Bitcoin gives us the ability to not need to take their bonds, not need to take their loans, not need to custody Bitcoin with them, not need to have gold in their safe, not need to take their stocks, not need to buy real estate based upon a bound to a bank. That means that the second you stop paying them your income, it becomes their real estate. And that's the purpose of Bitcoin. So you don't find yourself in a position where if your ideology changes and your business, you don't want it funded by that ideology anymore. You don't find yourself in a position where you're just a tool. Because the sad thing about what happened with Charlie Kirk is that Charlie Kirk dead is as useful to them as Charlie Kirk alive. In fact, just like an artist that passes away, Charlie Kirk dead is more useful to them. They're able to ratchet up violence. They're able to ratchet up the narrative. They're able to make you think that this is some lefty, Democrat, LGBTQ, woke agenda. And if all you do is vote for the right and get Trump to make America great again, then everything will be fixed. They'll use Charlie Kirk for whatever narrative serves their agenda. And they'll even put a little salad soup of all different agendas, so you can pick your favorite ideology and connect it to whatever makes you feel right. But just like an artist that passed away, Charlie Kirk is now a useful tool, because Charlie Kirk dead is more useful to them than Charlie Kirk alive. And that's the reality. And I see lots of people falling for it. I see the divide and conquer working. I see Trump deploying the police state that was beta tested across the UK, across Gaza, across West Bank, across Ukraine, across Saudi Arabia, across the European Union. And now it's getting ready for deployment in America. This is why Bitcoin was the exit. This is why Bitcoin was the boycott of the Fed. This is why Bitcoin in self custody was the boycott of BlackRock. This is why Bitcoin not borrowed against was the boycott of the banks. This is why Bitcoin, with money you can own and money you can spend, is allowing you to direct the flow of money and boycott and exit. And this is hopefully the wake up call that nobody finds themselves in the mafia, because that's what the banks, that's what this predatory financial system, that's what Silicon Valley is, what's what the public markets is, that's what the bond markets is. It's a covert mafia. It's banksters. And it may have been a joke before. It may have been represented by Max Kaiser standing on a stage like a fool and tearing up a $20 note. But now it's actually represented by the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And as I said, I can neither celebrate nor mourn, because there were hundreds of thousands of others that died because of that ideology that was being pushed. And Bitcoin gives us the ability to boycott that. And so take with that what you wish. But it's just really sad that it takes an assassination for some people to wake up. But hopefully you're waking up, and more people. And if anybody wants to come up and say, stop being a doomer, I'll say Charlie Kirk wasn't a doomer, but he tried to get away from an ideology. And that's what happened to him. That's what I'd say.
Simon, I don't know if
Thanks, Simon. Hey, Sebastian, did you want to jump in here on that sub?
Yeah, good luck following.
Yeah. Hey,
Good luck following up on that one. That was. Go
Sebastian,
ahead.
look at the bottom of your phone. Do you see the heart with the plus?
Yes, I do.
Press that. Now, do you see the hand over to the right? Ah, look at you. Yeah, I just,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
yeah, broke your hand, Cherry.
There
Okay,
it is.
welcome
Thank
There
aboard.
you
it
so
is.
much. Thank you.
Terence, see you like a good.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna go get a salad soup. I'll be right back.
I haven't actually connected with a group of people that I did not know so closely as I do now. I have to commend all of you. Clearly in a group with highly intellectual individuals, and that last speech, Simon, was incredible. Actually, the reason why I came on here was just to ask a very simple question, and this comes from my position. My position was that in 2013, I was in several meetup.com groups in regards to Bitcoin and the rising of Bitcoin. But unfortunately, I had got distracted by a woman, and had lost all focus on that endeavor. And I've been kicking myself ever since. And right now, I see the importance of Bitcoin not as a new form of technology or an opportunity back then, but as an essential duty for myself, for my family, to secure my finances, to secure my legacy. So, with that being said, do you feel that there's still an opportunity for someone today with no Bitcoin to step into it today or tomorrow and actually still accomplish something, or am I too late?
Bitcoin is 100x to go, brother, from here.
Yeah, and viewing Bitcoin as your savings technology, there's no timing. You save in Bitcoin, and especially anything that you don't need to spend within the next 4 to 5 years to be safe, and you will appreciate because the fiat dollars that you're probably measuring Bitcoin in are going to depreciate. And as I always like to tell people, Bitcoin is just an elevator in a building with no top floor. It's going to go up forever. Some of us got on earlier. Some people get off, try to get fancy, but then they're running up the stairs to catch the elevator again. Just get on when you can and stay on.
I
Yes,
appreciate that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
the
yes,
reverse. The
Sebastian.
reverse is true. Eric.
Yeah, just kind of listen to the last 35 minutes of this conversation and assess to yourself if you think you're late into a scarce asset that's digitally protected from confiscation and censorship in an era where confiscation and censorship are now starting to rear their ugly head upon the world. I think that we are very early to Bitcoin. We hear it all the time. It's a bit of a cliche after 16 years, but I think that we are very early to Bitcoin's actual purpose. I think all this stuff happened in like 48 hours. So it'll move fast when it moves. But in the time that we're in right now, I think the last year and a half, really the ETF announcement took Bitcoin from like an anarcho revolution cypherpunk movement into this comfy Wall Street world, which is by design, where people were just worried about number go up. The number is always going to go up because there's only 21 million. And the number is going to continue to go up as governments around the world become more tyrannical. I think very few people talk about a global Bolshevik revolution, which is what we're living through right now. And places like Vietnam and Canada and these other places, they're just strengthening the purpose of Bitcoin. And I think you're going to see, the number go up is something you could look at for sure. We all love that part of it. But from my particular point of view on Bitcoin, it has been about self sovereignty, self freedom, and defiance of a system that hates us. And I think you are going to find more and more people realizing that governments around the world actually don't care for you. They hate you and they want everything that you have. And I think that that is going to strengthen the actual purpose of Bitcoin in the marketplace itself. As evil rears its ugly head, the light will always shine. And I think that that is where Bitcoin is entering into a whole new era.
Thanks, Eric. Hey, Gregory, did you want to chime in on what Simon said earlier?
I just was going to tell Simon he was worried about being too doomy, and he must have got in late because that was like a pep talk compared to Dark.
Hey, let's say good morning to Paula. Hi, Paula. How are you? Before we kick it over to Taylor. Sorry, Taylor. Paula, did you want to interject here? We'll go ladies first and then kick it down to Taylor.
Yeah, hi everyone. What a great discussion. I I've been feeling a little bit down on everything that's going down and going on at the moment. And I really appreciated Simon's explanation because I know there's more behind this that not all of us see. And it's not a just left versus right thing. There's much more to this. And that, I do find that focusing on this too much isn't necessarily the best thing for me. I do want to stay informed, but then I just spoke to Rachel Gaia today on my show, and she's getting completely out of fiat and going into more Bitcoin. And that's what my goal is too. Just spend more and more time with people like you because, the Knots First core thing has also upset me a little bit because why can't we all just get along? And there's such great people in this group. And I just want us to find the best way for Bitcoin. But that doesn't always work. And I've got to just keep spending my time in the Bitcoin world more and more, know what's going on, but not spend too much time focusing on it because it can get me down. And Bitcoin has given me more hope than anything else. And I'm just going to keep, living in the world that I want to see. So thanks for letting me speak and loving the conversation.
Thanks, Paula. Before we go to Taylor, Lauren, I noticed when Sebastian was talking and he said, he was trying to save initially but got distracted by women. You threw up a laughing emoji. I figured you could relate a little bit to that.
I also have been distracted by women throughout my life. We'll end it there.
Hey, Terence, could I give a quick comment on the Knots v Core?
Yeah, sure. And then let's go to Taylor and TC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't worry about can't we all get along. It's actually how Bitcoin works. We're not meant to get along. We're meant to argue. We're meant to fight. We're meant to make Bitcoin better. And it's not a happy clappy cloud. We're the more contentious it gets, the more crazy it gets, the better result and outcome we'll have. So what works for Bitcoin sometimes doesn't work in the normal world. But having been through about 6 or 7 of these battles, if we're all getting along, then you've got a problem. If we're all fighting like absolute crazy, the more fighting that happens, the more likely we are to get the right outcome. I'd be really concerned right now if core was just there with no pushback, because this is what's going to make core better. And if we need to move to knots, then we need to move to knots. This is about finding an alternative solution because we're trying to protect ourselves from core, and core needs accountability. So please don't please don't think that we need to get to a place where we all get along. It's actually a natural part of how we progress.
Happy clappy. That's my new phrase. Taylor.
Wanted to go back to Sebastian's question on if we are early or if we're too late. So I think this ties in a lot with how Jeff Booth often describes the world, and that's that it's hard to understand the new system from within the old system. And we, the name of the game for all of our lives has been, who wants to be a millionaire and a billionaire? Who can achieve these things, and because they're always printing more and more dollars, they're always making more and more millionaires and billionaires. There's in the United States, I read today, there's 900 billionaires, and so only 500 billionaires do not um, are too poor to make it to the I don't remember the list, but it was the Forbes 400 or something like that. It's one of these lists of the top richest people in the United States. 500 billionaires are too poor to make it to that list. So in the fiat matrix, we are always making more and more millionaires and billionaires, which means we're cheapening what that means. But if you realize the game has shifted, and you can try to grasp the new game, which is hard to do from inside the old game, then the only thing that matters at the end of the day, as far as who wins, is how many sats you have, how much Bitcoin you have. And the only thing you can do to get ahead is to start stacking sats and to save those things and protect those things. And so most of the world has 0 sats. So if you can have 1 sat, then you are ahead of most of the world. And you just consistently, like Terence mentioned, you just consistently save in satoshis, and eventually the tipping point comes where everyone realizes suddenly that we are in this new game and that the old game is it's toast. And if you have any sats when that happens, then you're ahead of the game. And so we're very early because that tipping point has not come yet.
But do whatever
TC.
you need to do to get as many sats as possible. Don't settle for one.
Yes. Loren, no more divorces. More sats. TC.
That was funny. Yeah, I just want to pile on right there where Taylor left off. Is that you might not be super early, but you're definitely not late. And what really exists out there is a unbelievable arbitrage opportunity. And take that out of the context of the normal investment framework that you hear that word used in, and apply it to the knowledge of sorry about that, knowledge and understanding around Bitcoin. Because it's not just stacking Bitcoin, it's not just putting it in cold storage, it's not just running a node, it's developing a understanding of actually what Bitcoin is, actually where its value comes from, why it is the solution to the problem. And those are the perspectives that are going to give you something really important, which is conviction, because we're living in very turbulent times. There will be gut checks, and they're not far off. And if you don't actually understand what you're holding, you're going to be like one of many people that Bitcoin's history is littered with who used to have Bitcoin. You don't want to be one of those people. And it's not iron hands, it's a clear mental model, it's a clear understanding, it's a clear perspective that's going to actually give you the conviction needed to make the right decisions and to hold to your conviction in those turbulent times that are ahead. So that's what I wanted to say.
TC. Do you want to, Terrence? What's going on tomorrow? Maybe we can have TC come in. He wants to talk about something specific. Can we set that up?
Yeah. Just click the spaces link.
Just drop on in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I do. I just click the
Well, that
Spaces
works.
link. I don't know, it works for me. I click it and there I am.
And then you just hop on
Yep,
in.
and I'm in.
TC, are you around tomorrow? Will that work for you?
Sure, I'll be back.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, if you want to drop a
Yeah,
hint
these
or
guys are
anything, that's
dancing
fine.
around
I
it.
know
I
you've
just
been.
launched an app yesterday. I've been working on for the last year plus. It's Time Chain Calendar. It's in the App Store and Play Store. Check it out. It's basically a tool to help you with all that conviction I was just talking about. Help you develop a mental model about how Bitcoin works and give you something else to stare at every day besides a price chart. So check it out, Time Chain Calendar. I'll put a little post up in the nest.
Hey guys, when you guys are ready to transition, I got a question for the experts in the room.
Yeah, we're ready. No one here has transitioned, but we're ready for you to change the subject, Grant.
And there's not
I
many
refuse to
experts, so
transition, by the way.
over two.
I
Yeah.
was offered it in high school and my brother taught me out of it. So guys, pretend for a moment I have a company that I want to go public with. And let's say it's I find this entity that's a rocket company, and they do rockets, but they've decided to get out of the rocket business and provide me their shell that we're going to go build a real estate Bitcoin treasury company. And the announcement, read me the announcement, Carmelo. Here's the announcement we use. Grant Cardone, 30-year real estate veteran, private real estate guy, establishes cash flowing real estate Bitcoin NASDAQ company. If I don't tell you guys that I just took on an abandoned rocket company, is that going to bother you? Are y'all going to come in these rooms and basically destroy me during the day? Or do I need to confront that, hey, we basically just took over a rocket company that doesn't work?
What's the question, Grant? It's a reverse merger play. I don't think anyone have a problem with that. I mean, that's the premise of a reverse merger, is to take over a shell of a failing company,
Oh,
right?
yeah, Grant, we still love you.
Hey, Grant,
Yeah, totally, Ben.
Grant, I think it's more around the framing of a cash flowing real estate business that's acquiring Bitcoin, right? Like that's the story, because that's what differentiates you from every single other one of these bullshit treasury companies, is they have no cash flow. That's got to be like the
Hey, sorry. Can you say that point? Can you say that point again? He missed that.
hello. Can you hear me?
That was a weird voice. Who was
Dark,
Yeah.
that?
dark, dark. Say it
Hold on.
again,
Let
Dark.
me
Say
take
that
off my
again.
earbud. Yeah. So the point I was making, Grant, is that the thing that differentiates what you're doing
By
from
the way, it wasn't you. It wasn't you. It was these. I'm up in New York. These New York guys talk a lot. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah, what differentiates you from every other treasury company is that you have a cash flowing real estate business, right? And that's acquiring Bitcoin. And I think that
So you
that's
don't care that I'm acquiring this broken entity and we're using it for the sole purposes just to get along to be public.
no. I mean, the reverse merger thing, I think the market's become accustomed to that. I think what the issue with the treasury companies today is they have no cash flow. They don't have a business model. Whereas this company has a really, really unique business model in as much as that it uses cash flowing real estate to buy the Bitcoin. That's got to be the story. The story is that this unlike every other treasury company, this one is cash flow, has cash
Yeah.
flow, and is cash flow positive.
Yeah, real estate's the one thing I think that what makes the most sense for Bitcoin treasury companies. I don't know why other people aren't doing it.
Yeah, no one cares about the old rocket company that failed, man. Nobody cares about that at all.
I would say this one abstraction. You're using a zombie company to improve your time to ticker. And what I mean by that is to get public. Now, if you were to just do Cardone Capital and go public with that, you'd have to jump through all the regulatory hoops, the filings, all that kind of stuff. The going through the zombie company allows you to bypass that. And the only issue that I think you need to address is what does that zombie company, what's the baggage that comes with that? So, for example, are you going to be left with unquantified liabilities or operational distractions or things like that? If that company is a zombie company that doesn't create problems for you, then I think it's a net positive, because you're getting that time to ticker, right? Because you're hitting while it's hot. But I would just make sure you do your due diligence. I'm sure you have. That if it's a rocket company or some zombie company that has unquantified liabilities or legal regulatory problems for things like limiting your ability to shut down the old legacy operations or harvesting the residual
Yeah,
cash flows out of that.
yeah, right. But but if it was a clean shell with no future liabilities or carry forwards, you'd be comfortable with it. Let me ask you this: how
Does
big
it
a
have
pipe?
any? Does it have any shareholders?
Yeah, three
Yeah, you want to make
handful.
sure. You want to make sure that they're going to come along fully.
Come along and stick, and not just come along and dump.
Fully, yes. That's the problem with these strategy companies. There's no lockups. So everything everybody's telling you, you're not going to get hurt by buying a shell, reversing your business into the shell, retaking it public, or taking it live. The issue is the lockup. And all these lockups, if you study this, there's two issues really: the lockups, and then they start to try to amplify their Bitcoin holdings like MicroStrategy's doing, and then the market pukes on them through Twitter when they make a slight mistake. So the only guys getting beat up, Grant, are the guys that are, extending over their skis and they're letting their shareholders down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the other
and
thing,
then
Grant, is you want to make sure, if you have the opportunity when you get one of these zombie companies, is to leverage their back office for regulatory filings, SEC filings, all that. There's an operation that goes with being public that you can recreate yourself for sure. It's just a lot easier if the zombie company has something that's proficient. You can leverage that and just repivot it to Cardone Capital.
Hey,
The
Grant.
and let me
what
ask.
kind of
Yeah,
Grant,
public are you going with this? Is it a D-SPAC then? Is that what that ends up being?
I'm not going to answer that at this time, but I appreciate the question.
hey,
Well, my can I just go dark really quick? I've just
yeah,
been
go
dealing
ahead.
with this myself a little bit. So the issue that like some stuff I'm involved with is running into is, and I think all of these other treasury companies, from what I understand, have run into, except for Sailor, is that if you do that and there is one that's classified as a shell, then you have 3 years of ineligible issuer status with the SEC, which just makes everything more of a hassle for those 3 years, more expensive, and the filing's more difficult, and you have to get SEC approval for each filing. So
Yeah, that wouldn't be a vehicle that would be conducive to doing business tomorrow. So it wouldn't be that.
Hey,
And then, guys, how big a pipe? How big a pipe do you think is too big to open with, or can you?
Are we talking about Bitcoin?
Hey, Eric, chime in whenever you want. You don't have to put your hand up.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, Grant. I think first of all, I don't think anybody has a problem with it. That's the way business is done.
Yeah,
As a former public CEO, it's an absolute drag of a lifestyle. So I'll go ahead and say that, even for a tiny little company. The other thing is that the investment structure. I'm just going to be honest with you, Grant. So
what do you mean? What do you mean? It's a drag of a lifestyle. What do you mean?
you're going to spend a majority of your time dealing with compliance and regulations and regulators, and you're not going to be as creative as you'd like to be in the things that you do. And that's just
You know that story you tell about Bob D coming into your office?
Yeah,
That shit happens every 90 days, bro. You're going to hate it.
yeah.
for
So the other
for the
thing to look
first
at
three
is
years,
your investment structure right now, just from I guess a rebel force in this country. The fact that you can invest in a project like yours, get depreciation, write it off as an individual investor, that is a huge benefit to keep the IRS off people's backs while they're acquiring Bitcoin and building wealth with tax benefits. Now the offering to the general public will be nothing more than shares in a company. So kind of look at it from all perspectives before you make a final decision. Pray on things, whatever you do. But just know that as soon as you become a CEO of a public company, that fun, creative side of your business is immediately thrown out the window, at least for the first few years till you get your feet on the ground and understand how it all operates. It's a completely different game, Grant.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about failed rocket. I mean, Saturday night with your wife is probably the only time you should worry about a failed rocket.
That's funny. All right. Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for the input.
Guys,
Absolutely.
guys, yeah, thanks for stopping in. I cruised up to Canada this summer and visited some of my old homies from northern British Columbia, and I was talking about different folks that stop into these spaces, and I mentioned Grant. Apparently, he has a lot of fans up there because they were like, Grant Cardone, the guy from the whatever show you did, Boss show, and they were all about you. They knew exactly who you were, and I was pretty impressed. So yeah,
Send me their
your
addresses. I'll send
influence
them.
really cool.
I'll send them a 50. I'll send them a 51 T-shirt.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I thought it was pretty funny that your influence goes a long way into the deep, dark woods in northern British Columbia. So, good stuff. What do you think, Terence? Is it a good time to go around the horn? Seems like the wind is out of the sails a little bit.
We could go around the horn, or if Michael wanted to add anything, I see Michael's here on stage.
Hey guys, no, I didn't really have anything to add to the conversation. You asked me to come up, just saying hello. If there's something, if you want to keep the conversation going, I'm enjoying it.
Let me bow in here. No one's noticing that we're near 117 on Bitcoin. The miners wanted to reverse today and go down, but they seem to be fighting. Like Clean Sparks up 6.9%. What's our buddy Naka doing? Naka's at
You're
155.
25%, Gary,
Yeah,
since you got in yesterday.
I didn't buy that. I couldn't.
But now
Listen,
is a
I
good
don't.
time to buy. Now is a good time to buy,
It
Gary, in my
it
opinion.
it it may be, sir, but for me, I'm not interested in flipping coins. And I have Bitcoin. Bitcoin's up $1,500 today. It's such an easy play. It's just so simple. Um, no human
Pink
error.
shirt guy.
Every time, like, this is the stuff Grant's not going to like. That letter that David Bailey wrote is not a CEO letter. Okay, I'm sorry. The letter was way too long, too many complaints, not stating facts, and that kind of shit. Like, that guy needs to disappear from Twitter for a while. And you can't be a CEO. This is why I don't do this shit anymore, because I want to be able to say whatever the fuck I want to say, and the shareholders can do whatever they want to do. I don't have any, right? So that's the challenging part. Now, I didn't really understand Grant's question on how big the pipe would be. Um, I mean, Grant, answering question,
Neither did Terrence.
I would set it up where you're going to do 10,000 Bitcoin. You're going to roll every piece of real estate into it, and I might even do the medical piece with it. I would probably go to David Bailey and talk to him about selling the 10x medicine piece to him on the Kinley thing, because he needs it. He needs the income. Anyway, 117, near close to 117. I think that's promising. We're going to have a good week this week, I
Pink.
think. That would be my prediction. We go up from here.
Yeah, well, tomorrow we get the
We love
rates
that.
as well.
I'd chime in on something
Pink shirt guy
that
sent me a message. Pink shirt guy wants to know, Grant, if the shirt will come in the color pink. Go ahead and chime in.
Michael,
Oh, Michael,
sorry.
sorry, that was you. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to chime in on something that Dark said when I think it was Gary was describing the shell company or the reverse merger company rockets. Um, Unfortunately, I already have the ticker crash. So, but you mentioned the idea that the bulk of the treasury companies don't have any cash flow, so the only way they can really acquire is TradFi or kind of situations outside of real estate as a way to have an operating business to acquire more Bitcoin. Are there other ideas that people are interested in? Like, is there something native to the ecosystem that you could do to generate cash flow that you could buy more with when the TradFi ARBs aren't available?
Yeah, banking. To me, the natural treasury company is a bank,
Mm.
right? Because that's the pure arb, right? They take fiat gains from scam banking and they invested in Bitcoin. And then banks, and I'm thinking more along the lines of Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, the big guys. But even a smaller investment bank is in a position to offer their sailor type securities, but have the cash flow to pay the dividends.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I've kind of landed on this, Michael. I just think then who is better positioned to offer these securities than one of the investment banks? They're just so perfectly oriented to do it
Yeah,
and
I
to be
think I think
successful at it.
I think Novogratz is trying to do that to some degree with Galaxy. But he's just got so much else going on that it kind of gets buried in there.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
about
he's busy also building Solana treasury companies.
yeah? What about if you were to create a treasury company that does ARPS, like does instead of like GameStop, they give the guy 1.5 billion, he buys a 500 million instead, and then you're waiting. What if you get 1 billion and immediately put on basically a trade desk, and whenever you get assigned Bitcoin, you keep it, but you're continually trying to use that money to spreads and various different trading, acting as a market maker essentially with your treasury and slowly converting all the fiat into Bitcoin while turning, essentially $1 billion initial investment into a much higher amount of Bitcoin acquired.
Yeah. I mean, that's my idea for strategy, right? Except I'm not sure $1 billion is enough to become, a dominant player in the OTC business. You just become another player in the OTC business.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I like the
Hey, so
thoughts.
hey, can I chime in real quick about that? So, so what you were just saying was that, and I'll repeat real quickly. The idea is that banks would be perfect to buy Bitcoin and then arb the difference on that to their customers. The weirdest part about this is that strategy is the reverse of banks. So right now they're about 23% that they have debt. But banks in the US only have to have 8% of tier one collateral. Basel rules are 2.5%. So a bank can go 12.5 to 1 multiple, but strategy is the reverse way. It's over collateralized, and yet the stock still gets hammered. So until banks understand that, right? Because if you would apply bank leverage to strategies, $60 billion in Bitcoin or whatever the total is right now, you'd multiply it by 12 if they were a bank that they could basically loan against it. So until banks understand that, or TradFi understands that, they're not going to do Bitcoin because of the perceived volatility.
Hey, grain at 12x, what would MSTR be worth, or STR? Because I think that's the right way to look at it.
Well, if you did 12 times 60 would put it at $720 billion. That's what they'd be able to lever up to. They're the reverse. They have about $20 billion in debt versus the 60 billion. So they're
Non-maturity debt, to put a point
correct
on it.
and uncollateralized. So that's why as soon as I say to people, banks tier one credit in the US only have to have 8% collateral. And the Basel III rules are only 2.5%. So, a European bank can lever 40x, right? And be good. So that's why these numbers, the nominal amounts, the dollar amounts sound big for strategy, but in terms of leverage, it's very, very low. It's the inverse leverage, and that's
Right.
why we're in a weird spot.
Right. And to that point, the mark to maturity aspect of the tier one capital makes it so that they remove all volatility from it. Whereas Bitcoin is underlying collateral, yeah, obviously is mark to market. So that's kind of the hidden secret in the banking scam, right? Is they can have bonds they're sitting on that are down 40%, but they're just marking them to maturity and not realizing that loss. But that's not true of Bitcoin.
That's absolutely true. So the question is, it's whatever financial engineering you're comfortable with. Every industry, whether it's real estate, equities, bonds, has a degree of financial engineering that they're comfortable with. And when you try and bridge from one industry to the other, they're like, I don't get it, which makes sense because they've been doing that way for 20, 30, 40 years. And so I think that the whole question with Bitcoin treasury companies, and I'm well aware what happened with Nakamoto, but it's how long is it going to take for the industry to reevaluate them? And some of these pipe deals are terrible. They're horrible in their structure. But the question is will that company stay solvent? And I don't really have an opinion on that part until the market catches up and re-rates it, assuming that that's what happens.
Lauren, did you rug us, or is that the longest amount of silence we've ever had?
I'm just yeah. No, that was that's like when you first meet somebody, and
Feel
then
like I'm
there's
in a
that
Fred meeting.
awkward pause.
Yeah, I thought I just
Yeah,
couldn't hear. I
I
thought
was
I got
thinking the same
rugged.
thing. No, no, it's there's like 860 people in here, and it's just dead silent. That's hilarious. So no, Terrence, yeah, whatever way you want to take this one. I'm just staring at the ocean, trying to
Well,
see a
we
whale.
can horn it. Someone else can fire up one, but I've got to jump. I know you're walking between redwoods
Yeah,
and the sequoias.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, take us around the horn.
Paula, we haven't heard from you in a bit. Let's start with you, and then we'll go around. We'll go to Taylor next.
Great discussion, guys. This chat is beyond above my pay grade. So I'm just going to end with Bitcoin is energy money. I don't sell it, I use it. And I just am focusing on simplifying life to focus on the relationships that matter. And time is our most valuable resource. Thanks.
Did you say pay grade? What is Lauren paying you? Because I'm not getting paid.
Yeah, I knew you were going to finally get me into this. Yeah, and rag on me. But yeah, I'm not getting paid, but you guys, some of these discussions are really high alpha and beyond what I can count to.
Well, like I always say, we try to
The
have a lot of
federal
smart people in the room, and then plus Lauren. Taylor, how about you?
yeah.
Just in light of everything we've been talking about the past few days, I just wanted to invite everyone to be willing to mourn with those that mourn and comfort those that stand in need of comfort and stand as witnesses of God at all times and all things and in all places that you may be in, even unto death, that you may be redeemed of God and be numbered with those of the first resurrection, that you may have eternal life.
Are you mourning the treasury companies? Is that what you're talking about?
Rip.
Oh, copy that.
Guys,
Michael.
Not
if I could
guilty.
go next
Not
because I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
still
let's
guilty.
go to Gary.
Please, please.
I'd just like to read a couple of things. Kabizi just released something that says that investment securities for U.S. banks reached, these are losses, unrealized losses, 395 billion in Q2 2025, 6 times higher than the peak of 2008 crisis. Okay, 6 times higher than the peak. Here's another little comment that was put out by First Squawk. Deutsche Bank, if Dark's in the room or Grain, I'm sure they're going to really love this. Deutsche Bank makes a statement that taking large stock market positions now carries significant risk. Wow. Bitcoin, man. Bitcoin is going to rip people's faces off. For the people that said, "Hey, am I late?" Dude, we're so early, it's stupid. I mean, this is risk adjusted. This is a no brainer. I'm literally not buying Naka. I don't see the risk reward relative to Bitcoin, and it just dropped 75%. So, but I'm not going to get greedy. You're going to die getting greedy in this business, I think. Um, I don't want to die. I just want to get richer. I think we're going to need a lot of money and a lot of power, guys, because this world is fucked up. So I'll end with that. Let's go, Bitcoin.
Well, if Bitcoin's going to rip a bunch of faces off, I think Hollywood is already halfway there because I was at the Emmys the other night and man, those faces, some of them need to be ripped off. Pink, I see you up here. You can say hello and goodbye.
Hello and goodbye. The only way I could get into the space is if I agreed to speak, and I wanted to hear the around the horn. So don't have a lot to contribute other than the fact that I appreciate you guys doing this, and it was a good conversation today. Look forward to tomorrow.
Awesome. It sounds like Grant's going to send you a pink version of his shirt as
Terrence,
well.
Terrence, also one thing,
Yeah, yeah.
margin debt jumps to $1 trillion today. All new time high. 1 trillion, just margin debt.
What's
Half that's
scary,
mine.
Gary, is when you say trillion, that doesn't even faze me. I don't even know what that means anymore.
Yeah, most
Michael,
most don't, buddy. Most can't actually write out a trillion. Everyone should actually write out $1 trillion and see how difficult it is.
Have you guys done the time comparison? Million, billion, trillion. So million seconds is 11 days. A billion seconds is 31 years, and a trillion seconds is 31,000 years. That's a good way to think about million, billion, trillion.
what about quadrillion?
It's more than the last one.
Okay, yeah, because I see that our global money is now at 1 quadrillion, which is 1,000 trillion. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah, so that would be 31 million years in that case.
I'll trust you. Those numbers are just so high. Michael Venuto, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I really like where the direction Gary was going with the treasury company. Like I've been pretty negative on these. I in block we were early with strategy. We were early with MetaPlanet, but there was like 9 or 10 more of these that came out, and I just didn't see how they were going to get the arb to to justify the premiums. I like this idea of a cash flow business that you know is not native to the decentralized, to Bitcoin essentially, but can be used to essentially convert it. Like I think I've mentioned it before. We do some work with a couple of the South Korean brokers, and it's interesting. The reason they love a lot of the yield max products is because they get paid in USD, and they prefer USD to want. Um, and it's like the, these folks don't have access to the Bitcoin the way we do, but they're just trying to escape their own currency by, you know, vol farming MicroStrategy or Bitcoin itself. And it's just like a step. And then you got to take that next step and convert it. I don't know. I like these conversations, and I love that I could just kind of hang out while I'm doing the day job of, keeping all the infrastructure going. But that idea, not only do I like what Gary's thinking, but also sparks a lot of idea generation for me, because I do think there's things that can be done to make these new treasury companies work. And I don't think it's just the traditional finance arb. So I don't know. I'm just talking in circles. I always like to end with appreciation. So I appreciate all of you, and I love listening to these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. How about you, Thomas? Tommy Muffin, that's you.
Yeah. I have slow uptake on that mute button with being an old man. But I would just say tomorrow, I don't believe that the Fed What the Fed's going to do tomorrow with rate cuts and commentary is priced into the market. So I expect the market to react to what is being said. I don't think it's going to be a nothing burger. So let's just see what happens.
I think that brings us to dark, and then we'll finish off with you, Lauren.
Yeah, who gives a rat's ass what the Fed does or says or does in any way, shape, or form? That's a fraudulent operation. They're criminals. And yeah, to buy Bitcoin, hold it in self custody, get off of these financial rails. This is a crack up boom. The markets are at all time highs. Bearishness is off the charts, right? We don't have FOMO. We have the opposite, right? Everybody's calling for everything to go down, and it's not going down. It's going up, and it can't stop it. They don't know what to do. They're panicking. So yeah, just Bitcoin is your off ramp. It's the only way to get out of this financial rails. It's a bearer asset, right? Maybe a little bit of gold in self custody as well, or silver, but Bitcoin is your off ramp.
Lauren, is Bitcoin your off ramp?
It is my one and only ramp. No, it really is. I did forget. I wanted to mention something. I don't know who was watching,
You
but
wanted to talk about when Michael
our
was saying
true.
he enjoys joining us during his day job, and you were like, "What's a day job?" Yeah.
Mhm. That too. That too. Yeah. No, the True North boys are now part of the Strive family of companies. So the Vivek company acquired True North. So that was news today. I forgot to throw that out there as an FYI. But no, totally agree with a lot of what is being said. I don't like labels. I don't like the whole doomer thing. When we pontificate on the what, when, and I think most of us agree that the current system is in complete shambles. It's cartel, et cetera, et cetera. That all I think we agree on. But when we dwell in negative places for long periods of time, it does kind of bring me down. And I love to come and do things like go to the ocean and hang out with my family and other things to bring me up. But also talking about hope. And I think we all agree also that tools like Bitcoin are hope for humanity and hope for the future. And I really hope that we can, switch around and make all of our decisions based on the good stuff, love and hope and peace and tranquility, and not get hung up on all of the freak out, negative, anxiety ridden stuff. So, I think Paula touched on that. Other speakers did as well. So I'm not pointing fingers or saying anything other than just love where these conversations end, which is, hey, get some Bitcoin, guys. So with that,
Lauren,
like I said, Bitcoin is the off ramp. Yeah,
prices
go ahead.
determine the value of money. I just wanted to share that
I
with
am.
you as a maxim. Prices determine the value
You
of
sound
money.
just like him. Yeah, thank you. Because we don't have the soundboard today, so we that was a much needed interjection there. Uh, Terrence, back over to you, sir.
And just quick question: does this mean that True North will take MSTR out of their at?
That's a great question, huh? Yeah,
Hey,
I
hey,
guess we'll
does
see.
anybody know
We'll have
what that
to.
went for, by the way?
I'll tell you what it went for: shares in the pipe, but I don't know the number.
That's a big pipe.
Lauren, are you making that noise with your mouth since you don't have the soundboard? I'm so confused.
I'm trying.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
impressive.
I'm making it. Yeah, I'm a ventriloquist. I'm singing, speaking. Yeah, it was a good one. Have a great day, everybody.
Let's be friends
I'm
tomorrow.
gonna go touch seawater.